Hello everyone, my name is Nelson Whitaker, and this video is going to go through a step-by-step process of creating a stencil and using this very same stencil to create a 3D amulet through 3D printing. So what you will need to create this process is one, an idea, which will be a sketch or a drawing of some kind. And once you have your idea made, which you could put it together digitally through Photoshop, or if you have a scanner, you could put your sketch inside of a scanner. And once that scan in is, and once that's in the computer, then you go into a vectoring process. What I have right here is Adobe Illustrator. It's an older version, but this works for the newer version. Same step and same process. And this here is a logo for the Lindenwood Elementary School, home of the Panthers. And this is part of a commission or example sample for the school that when I'll be demonstrating on Tuesday. But I want to share this with you as far as how you can either vector this by hand, or you could have Adobe Illustrator to vector it for you, something called Live Trace. And the way Live Trace works, this is a completed sample of Live Trace where it breaks all the line work down and creates a vector of the line work. So every part here, every element is now a vector from original drawing. But let me go ahead and just move this out of the way, and I will definitely start from scratch. So what we're going to do, we are going to go and open a file, or rather, actually, I'll open it through the folder here and do a drag and drop. And that's something you could do. You can either open it directly through File Open and you find it from there on the directory, or if you have the image through File Explorer, you can also grab, and this might not be, maybe that's not the right one. No, that's not the right one. But I'll just grab it directly from the net. That's what I'll do. So let's go over to the net and do Lindenwood Elementary's mascot. And this is the mascot here. And what I've pretty much did was I just copy and saved it and brought it back into Illustrator. And even though I did it pretty quickly, I went over and right click to copy the image. I'll do it one more time. And then once I copy the image, like a Control C, I went back into Illustrator and then hit Control V as far as the hotkey. And this is a sketch version of, well, not sketch version, but this is the, image version of the vector version of here. So now that we have this image, we are going to do a live trace version. Again, you could also vector things by hand, but just for the sake of expediency, uh, we are the we are going to go through the live trace route. And the students and the instructors could probably also do a live trace version of it if they want the illustrator to trace it and vector it for you. Uh, but you also have the choice to do it manually if you want to have more control and want to add additional things that you believe that a live trace will not work. But just to go straight to the demonstration, in this version of 5.4 Illustrator, you'll go over to where it says live trace, make sure your image is selected. You go over to where it says live trace and do tracing options. And once you have the tracing options set up, hit preview first so you can see what it looks like. This is the preview. Right now, it looks like this. It's kind of like vectored up, and it has lost some of the detail, and we want to get some of the detail back. So to do that, you probably hit resample to resample it, and we're going to push this all the way to 600 pixels. Now I'm not going to press enter because I guess in this version, if you press enter, it'll kick you out of this window here. So we just kind of just select it to another tab, and it's always good to fiddle around with the options, which you can see here is kind of already giving me various options, and I'm gonna change the threshold a bit. I'll do 80. And you're now seeing the image coming back into its former self, because this will be like the former image right here, or close to it. But yeah, it's finally coming back to its former self, and there's other options as far as the strokes, vectoring, the fills. You can mess with all of these options here. Let's put the fill back up, and then you also have your max stroke. And I think I just pressed the enter button, but that's fine. But now this is already set up. This is already set up. So once you have the live trace set up, then you go back into options. I clicked on this way too many times. I want to make sure I'm on the actual layer. You select it, go back into objects, and then we're going to go and do live paint. And now once live paint is complete, it has broken up all the elements into various parts, now fully vectored. And I have a fully vectored piece, pretty much like this here. So, once that's completed and fully vectored, and you got everything that you want, then you would go into File, and then we're going to do a Save As. And once you do Save As, you'll have a number of selections here. We are going to use the one called SVG, which is a stencil vector graphic. And once it's named, it'll create this format of a SVG, of a stencil vector format. And then we are going to take our SVG file and take it into Blender. And I've already did this work ahead of time of a SVG extruded, turned into a mesh, and added onto a cylinder. So this is pretty much the completed version, and I'm already have a printout that's in the process of printing. But we're gonna go ahead, and this is the SVG here, but we're going to do a completely fresh one. So with import, we're going to go and find actually scalable vector graphic, and there it is right there. Make sure you're in the right directory of where you saved it, and we're going to import the SVG. Now, mind you, this is when it's imported, it's going to be really, really, really small, and that's something that you could probably fix if you want to take the time of dealing with all the measurements. But it will normally be really small, so you want to make sure that you zoom in, and there it is right there. So you zoom in, and then you want to make sure you select everything, and if you want to blow it up, you go and hit scale, which is also the hotkey of R key, and you will scale it up. And we're going to scale up a little bit more, and put it into the middle for the time being, even though the cursor is all the way over there. But we're not going to center it just yet, um, or set the origin just yet, because it's the set the origin of all 100 plus curves are over here, and if you try to set the origin on one part, it's going to mess everything up, including the stencil. So we're going to do that later. So now, once we have everything set up, we are actually going to select one, and then select the whole thing itself, and join everything as one piece. So now that everything is one piece, one curve, one spline rather, now you're going to set the origin, and we're going to go into set origin to geometry. Okay, and now it's actually centered. So now that it's set origin to geometry, normally people will do convert it into mesh. I'm not going to do that yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the object data properties, which is going to open this tab here. I'm going to go down over to geometry, and a little bit down, because we're going to look for something called extrusion. Yep, right here. We're gonna hit the extrusion, and you're going to see it fully extrude like so. And we're gonna do number 002. Press enter, and it's extruding just like that. And then once you have that extruded, there's cases depending on the complexity of your stencil. There there is you might have options to do boolean, and boolean is pretty much like creating a stencil inside the cylinder here. Uh, Chances are, if your stencil is really complex, or uh, I guess one of the advantages of if you were to do the vectoring by hand, you'd be able to control the complexities of the stenciling. That way, you'll have the option of actually creating a Boolean version of the cylinder instead of it being kind of extruded outward. But if that's something that you don't want to take the time to doing, then that's okay. But that I just wanted to share that as far as uh, maybe you might say the pros and cons of having an automatic live trace to live paint, letting the computer do it versus if you vector it yourself, you again have more control of doing it. So in this situation here, now that we have it stenciled, now that we have everything extruded, we got everything that we want. Now we're going to press right click, convert to mesh. And now that it's converted to mesh, then you have the option to try to do the boolean, or you have the option to set this piece here and size it up and join the two portions together, which the end result will be this nice amulet. Now it's dark, so what I'm going to do is give it a little bit of a material so you can actually see it better. So let's change the material. We're going to change the material real quick. We're going to change it to this one, and it might not show it. Nope, yeah, it's not showing it on that one. Let's try that. Nope, nope, nope. Yeah, well, it shows it on this one at least. You can at least see some of the detailing. I wanted I wanted to use the matte cap, but I guess there's something off about it, which that's okay. This one works. But yeah, you have your cylinder or your amulet, and you can actually do a little bit of smoothing, shade smooth, which it probably will not really show up well on it. Normally, since it's flat, you'll have these facets. This could be fixed, but you might have to kind of break everything apart a little bit, or you could do it by hand. Once you have your print, you could like sand it down and smooth it and do a little bit of polishing. That's ultimately up to you. But yeah, you'll get this amulet, and then once you have that amulet, and let me just go ahead and move these out of the way. You have your amulet. The next step will be to export this and turn it into a STL file. And you'll name your STL file. Make sure this is selected as far as selection only. So everything that you have selected will be exported. Um, if you don't have that selected and you have nothing selected, or if you have this unselected, then it's going to select everything in your workspace. So it'll select this and it'll select all that, and you don't want that. You want it to be exclusively whatever you want to extrude. I mean, export. So you select this, go into export, go into STL, make sure selection is only, you name it, and then you export to STL. And once that is exported, then the final stage will be going into Kira or MakerBot, MakerBot Plus, or the MakerBot slicer, or whatever slicer that you're using. So right now I'm using Cura because it's going to be printed on the Artillery Sidewinder. And the nice thing about Cura is a more of a universal slicing tool. So if you have any, I might, they might have a slicing for MakerBot. I'm not sure, but I'll probably say any more open source, non-proprietary, exclusive type printers, it'll it'll show up on the Cura. And Ultimaker has been kind enough to make this slicer to make it universal. So if you have an Ender, uh, or if you have some off-brand type 3D printer or a Kodak. Uh, I'll, there's so many 3D printers that are coming into the the marketplace. Like the most recent one I can think of is the J1 Snapmaker. So if you have some type of FDM 3D printer that you've bought, usually Kira would be it might be inside the catalog and you can select it and it'll read it just as fine. So this is I'm printing a set of 10, and this is what it looks like as far as preview. It's going to create a raft, and this raft is going to keep these prints in place. And just to do a little bit of a simulation, FDM printers, uh, also called fused deposition modeling printers, they use extruding process of PLA or some other type of filament that goes into a semi melting process of melting the plastic and laying down a layer. And once that initial layer is complete, the extruder will ever so slightly move up, and then you'll see one layer completed and another layer completed, and it just repeats the process over and over and over and over again until the print is done. And then once it's complete, here's another angle. Once it's complete, then you'll have your amulet. So just to close everything off, this amulet will be at least 2-3 inches, I guess, all the way around to 3. I probably say no bigger than 3.5. It'll be a reasonable size. It'll have some of the detail. Of course, of this current size, some of like the lettering detail may be lost. Um, to remedy that, you could probably have the amulet to be a little bit bigger, or in this case, I do have it on low quality because I'm also looking as far as having these printed out at a timely manner. If I was probably like just printing out one or two, or if I had like a much longer deadline, then I will actually raise the quality to something that's like much higher. But this is more of a demonstration and a process as far as mass producing prints within a couple days span. So that's pretty much the whole process. And if you have any questions or any comments, yeah, feel free to hit me up. I'll be making many more of these videos pertaining to creating things using this process of stenciling, creating a vector, creating SVG, and then um, making a amulet out of it. So that's all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.